Ka tira ka mi atu kia koutou e matakitaki ana. Kei roto te whiwhinga whare o Paretutu Bowling Club here in Ngāmotu. Ki taku te taha, called Brendon Walton. Kia ora, Brendon.
Kia ora.
Hey, just for those who don't know, do you mind just sharing who you are and where you're from?
Hi, so I'm Brendon. I'm originally from New Plymouth, born and raised here. Spent my teenage years over in Tauranga, where I started playing bowls back in, 2010-ish, I think. 2012. 2012, we'll go, somewhere around there anyway. And have been playing bowls now for the last 9 years. Turn the mic on. And sort of been bowling ever since. Moved back home, did university down here. I now work as the secretary club manager of Paretutu Bowling Club. Quite a privileged job for me. Get to play bowls whenever I like, and be involved in a sport that I love. So that's basically me in a nutshell.
Okay. Just a quick fire question. What do you do in your spare time?
Surprisingly, play bowls. No, outside of bowls, I also work part-time as a bartender, so I quite enjoy, craft beers, cocktails, that sort of thing. Play a lot of online gaming and stuff as well, but most of my free time is involved around and either administering or playing bowls. Keeps me busy, keeps me out of trouble, so yeah.
So just in the recent month, you've had an experience down South Island, down in Christchurch, out in Burnside Greens. Do you want to share a bit more about that tournament, please?
Yeah, so every year the Burnside Bowling Club hosts a under 26, we call it a semi-invitational tournament. Singles competition targeted for the best of the best under the age of 26 in New Zealand and Australia in previous years as well. So basically how it works is they call for entries, you submit your entry form, you list your credentials, your achievements in bowls, and then their selection committee pick the top 32 players basically. So I was actually fortunate enough to be picked to play last year. However, I had to pull out for financial reasons, so it was quite an exciting experience to be able to go this year, and even more exciting to be able to go with 3 fellow clubmates and another further 2 players from with Taranaki origins. So it was a really cool experience to have 6 Taranaki players out of a field of 32. For me, it was sort of a bucket list tournament. Obviously, I've sort of only got next year left before I become too old, so it was good to get down there this year and have a crack at it and learn from this year and go back next year and sort of be a bit more familiar with what's going on and hopefully have a good go at it.
See, on your draw, you come across one of your fellow mates?
Yeah.
How did that go down?
After we played our games, which didn't go too flash for me, in the section play, I had to come up against clubmate Ryan, and it's going to be a good game. Ryan had been playing very good bowls all weekend up until that point. I was actually a little bit nervous coming into that game, more than anything, because I know what Ryan can be like when he gets on the draw, and I sort of, was expecting a really good game, and we actually played last year in the club championship semi-finals and had a very close game as well. I think we got to about 15 all and I pulled away in the end. And very good start to that game down in Christchurch. If anything, I was a bit more at ease, I think, because I sort of knew my opposition a little bit. But yeah, ultimately, I think I double check what the score was. I can't actually remember. I've got it up here. Where are we? It was 21-8. So yeah, it was a very good game, and the scoreline didn't really reflect the bowls that was played. I had to really work for those shots. I think as the game drew nearer to the close, I was a bit more comfortable in closing it, but certainly in the early stages of that game, it was a very hard-fought game, shot for shot. That was for sure. Bit unfortunate to have to knock your own clubmate out in the first round of post-section, but it is what it is in that regard. So.
And Selena Godad, she was, I heard Brian played her first up. Selena Godad is quite a presence in New Zealand New Zealand bowls.
Definitely. So Selena Godard, New Zealand representative player, bronze Commonwealth medal at Scotland in 2014, very highly capped player. She was certainly in hot form and definitely one of the tournament favourites going in. She'd actually won the Auckland Women's Open. I forget what it is exactly, but it was an open tournament in Auckland for women. She'd actually won that the weekend before, so she certainly had some winning singles form going into it, and I don't think she'll mind me saying if she sees it that she probably struggled a bit that weekend down in Burnside. Losing to Ryan in that first game, it was a very close game. I was actually able to watch the end of that game. I think when I took up sort of viewing, it was about 16 all, I think. Just a great display of draw bowls, brilliant control from both players, and the result was definitely a reflection of the quality of bowls played. Ryan, to his credit, he just kept his head cool and played those sort of yard-on shots very well, and manipulated the jack in such a way that just gave him the advantage in the end to secure that last point. And it was certainly the talking point of the morning on Friday, having Ryan be, probably considered the underdog in the field. To step up in the first game and beat a blackjack, it was huge.
So Hamish Copley went down. Aidan, who else went down?
So Hamish Cuppy from Okado, who's also now a dual member of Paratutu. Aidan Zitterstein, Cook Island International and member of Paratutu. We had Stefan McCartan, who again Paratutu member and formerly of Tauranga as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had Daryl Reid, who born and raised out around the coast. He's been living up in Auckland recently, but is returning to Taranaki this month. So we've kind of unofficially claimed him as Taranaki, even though on the draw he was playing out of Balmoral, I think it was, up in Auckland. So it's good strong field of Taranaki bowlers, and of course, we've got a couple more under 26 players around Taranaki that, for whatever reason didn't enter or weren't able to play down in Burnside. But, it's certainly good to see the talent coming through from Taranaki at a younger age. Hamish was his second year going down. He went last year, and I think for Stefan, I think it's his third year playing at Burnside. I know he's been down a couple of times, and he's had some pretty good success down there himself. He's got a Kitty Hawks title he won down at Burnside, which is a different tournament, but similar sort of format, age bracket tournament. And, Stefan's also won a national interclub title for the Badclinic development team up in Howick a couple of years ago. So, some very experienced and credited players amongst us. So,
did you see any your Tauranga boys down there?
Jesse? There was Jesse Russell's from Cambridge. He's now playing out of Auckland. He was down there. He and Aidan actually squared off, and Aidan ended up winning that game. I can't remember what the score was exactly. It was earlier on in the tournament. I'll see if I can find it here. Where are we? Jesse Russell was 21-18. That was the first game of the tournament. So Jesse's always a fierce competitor. He, Stefan and I grew up playing a lot of bowls with Jesse through the high school program and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Very, very talented player. As well as Taylor Horn, of course, who's also from that sort of region. Current national singles champion. He'll be flying over to Aussie in the next week or so to represent New Zealand in the Champ World Finals.
But Bradley, but those Wellington boys,
Bradley Downs,
Seamus,
well, probably if anything, Seamus was probably picked on favourite to win. Recently capped blackjack, very good player. I played him in the second round, and I remember when I played Seamus a few years ago when he was still a reasonably new player to the sport. And I sort of remember, I don't remember what the score was, but I remember winning that game. And I remember, when we were down there, we finished that game and he spoke about it a little bit. And it's, quite a different scenario now. He's become a very good player and he's only 19. He's at the top level of world bowls. Just an incredible player. I got an absolute schooling. I really did. He was certainly the favourite to win. And, he had again, the scoreline in the semi-final didn't really reflect the bowls that were played. He beat Seamus, not Seamus, sorry. Seamus beat Shelton quite comfortably in the end, but the scoreline didn't really reflect the quality of the game. Likewise in the final, he played clubmate Finbar, and brilliant bowls played, and Finbar, eventually coming out on top and winning the tournament. So both of those guys play out of Stokes Valley. So very much like Haratutu, Stokes Valley have got a good group of junior players, albeit probably at a slightly higher level than what we've got, obviously, as the results determined. But yeah, amongst that group as well, they had Bradley Downs. He was top division as well. I think he went out first round in top division. And then obviously Nicole Toomey from Wellington as well. I think she plays out of Victoria, if I remember correctly. She was up at the pointy end of the field as well. Although I believe she ended up in second division, but still, the top half, definitely in the competitive field.
I had a cousin. His name was Clayton Hockley.
Clayton
How
Hockley.
did he get on?
He wasn't playing this year. I think he might. I think he might be too old now.
Okay. I thought I might have seen his name.
No, I think he might have been too old. I do recall him having been down to Christchurch before, but no, he definitely wasn't there this year. The only other player from Tauranga that I was sort of familiar with was Anthony Olette, who is a fairly new bowler. I think he's a third-year player, but he's been playing indoor bowls for a very long time. And he's taken up outdoor in the last couple of years and become a very good player. He actually was another talking point of the first round. He beat Nicole Toomey 21-20 in that first round. And that was not so much of an upset. He played very well, and we definitely saw it coming. But on paper, perhaps you probably wouldn't have picked that result from the outset. Yeah.
Just any favourite moments from the tournament? Just if you could pick.
Favourite moments. I mean, obviously, I come back to going to the bottom section and had to fight my way back to win the Section 4 final. So my favourite moment probably is, as far as aside from coming back to win Section 4, was probably that first game we played on Saturday afternoon, which after we'd all been seeded and put into sections, the top two divisions went onto one green, and the bottom two divisions went on the other green, and the kind of what do you call it? The competitiveness, so to speak, had kind of been lifted. There was a certain silence to all the games as the players were really concentrating, but once we were in that third division, that sort of just lifted, and there was a bit more social activity on the green. A few little cheeky comments here and there, and just a bit more of a relaxed environment. And I think that's what bowls is all about. You play hard, and you're always looking to get that win, but at the same time you're there to have fun. So it was really cool to be able to still play very competitive bowls, and you're still playing with a purpose, but just have that tension lifted, I suppose. And that carried through a little bit. Even in the finals of the fourth division and whatnot, we were sort of checking up on our neighbours and having a chat with them, and just being a bit more social. Whereas the first division guys, taking it very seriously, they're playing for a bit more at stake than what we were. But the camaraderie of all the players, both on and off the green, is really something to be desired. The friendships that are formed down there are lifelong, and so often in bowls you see the grumps and the gripes, but to be able to go down there and have a field of 32 competitors competing at the top of their game, and then be able to walk off the green at 5:30 in the afternoon or whenever it was, be able to all go back and push all the tables together and sit around in a big group and have a beer or whatnot, and it's just it's something really special, and it's something quite unique, and that's definitely one of the better moments of the tournament. It's not always about the bowls on the green; it's the entire atmosphere of the tournament.
What I found unique about the tournament is you play women, you play opposite, so it's, it's got to be a new experience for some, I guess.
Yeah, it's mixed, and obviously there are a few more guys than girls playing, which is an interesting thing in itself. You would expect it to be fairly 50-50, but particularly in the younger ranks of players. There seems to be a lot more guys playing, but um, I had to play Nicole in section play. Nicole Toomey, as I mentioned before. Um, she was actually there as one of the Bowls New Zealand development players, so her performance was being evaluated for her future New Zealand selection. And one of the big differences I think playing those girls down there is they play what I call a man's game. As men we're not afraid to play those up shots. We're not afraid to have a drive at the head. When you're playing mixed stuff at home with some of the older ladies, being very careful how I choose my words there with the older ladies, but they tend to play a bit more of a relaxed draw game. It's more of a skill based. Well, there's a lot of skill in playing weighted shots, of course, as well, but they
aggressive, eh?
Yeah, they don't really play that aggressive game, and it kind of took me by surprise the first time Nicole played a drive shot. I think it was the second end. I played a big drive shot and converted a lot of points off it, and then the very next end or the end after, she played one herself, and whilst it may not have been as fast as mine, it was certainly an aggressive shot, and it sort of just took you by surprise. It's like, okay, they're not afraid to play those sort of shots. So you sort of couldn't underestimate them, and fair play to them. They played very well, and they're at the top of their game. Certainly different to playing some of the ladies you sort of get familiar with playing the mixed stuff around here with, that's for sure.
I just want to talk about managers. I think like Ferrari down in Wellington, and just how important is it to have a good manager?
We didn't actually play with managers down in Burnside. No.
Or selectors? Was there any selectors or?
There were no selectors or managers in this particular tournament. We did have talent identification from Bowls New Zealand.
Okay.
So Bowls New Zealand used this tournament as a sort of a feeder program into their development squad. So they look very closely at the results. They look at the players' attitudes and the way they handle themselves on and off the green. So they're looking at that sort of thing. As far as managers are concerned, and selectors and advising in singles, personally I quite enjoy it. I think there's a good place for it because as a singles player, yes, it's your game, but sometimes it's nice to have that outside opinion. In this particular setting, it just wasn't there, and we did have certain players have people marking their scores in different ways. They evaluate effectiveness of bowls, that sort of thing. Some players had their families with them, but the discussion between the green and the spectators didn't really happen in this tournament like it would in a rep match. It was a very individual thing. So yeah, and I don't think bringing a manager into this particular sort of format would make a huge impact. Yeah.